Thank you, Tony. We look forward to your critiquing tonight.
Now, if you want to move over, you better have a look.
Turn that light.
Good. Oh, yeah, turn up. Thank you all for having us along tonight. I know it's always a bit of a tough one when you get a call to judge because at the end of the day you think, oh, what do I know? I mean, it's like we put our work in for competitions at a professional level or as keen amateurs, and you know, it's always a bit of a tough one. But hopefully it's about education. So hopefully some of the images that we talk about tonight is about just sort of giving you tips about going forward, how to improve your work and the likes. Of course, when I get to see them, I don't necessarily know how long people have been taking pictures for, if it's brand new or been going for a while. So I kind of see them with fresh eyes and hopefully do our best to inspire. Now, if I can just go sideways for a minute and just step away from what I'm about to do for judging and just wear my NZIPP hat, if it's possible just to let people know, if you got the comms already, on Monday we've got a meeting at 10:10:10. It used to be called Pecha Kucha, but we can't call it that anymore. And if you want to come along for a good couple of hours to hear a couple of people in the room getting some images being prepared. Some of you may have tickets already. Only $10 at the Little Andromeda Theatre on the Strip on Monday. Well, that's good to hear. It's sold out, but they've released 10 more tickets this morning, and I put a mail out to people to say we've got 10, so obviously people read my emails, so it works. Sorry. It's if you've got tickets, that's brilliant. And also going sideways to next month, we've got our NZIPP annual Iris Awards. So if people haven't ever been to those, it's another way of seeing the industry at work, and the judging is open to the public at the Majestic on Durham. It happens to be in Christchurch for the 3rd year running. Next year it won't be. So if you do want to go and see professional judging, professional work, the education value of that is huge. It is for us, let alone for people that may be on their journey starting taking pictures. So it's open, I think, I can't remember the times exactly, but probably 8 o'clock in the morning, 8:30 it starts through to, some of the categories go till 7 at night. But you're most welcome to attend. It is free, and it is open to the public. Tuesday the 3rd, I think it is, 4th and 5th. And I've got those days, it's definitely the start of August, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
I was just going to say I can actually look up those details and send an email out to anyone that might want to go. And there's an exhibition as the Prince of Judge there.
Yeah, they're sent out the back of the room for people to have a look over the next couple of days.
So you can wander around and look at them more closely. I think it's really worth going, particularly as it's in Christchurch. So thank you.
Yeah, be last chance for a while. Right, look, I won't crack on. My intention tonight is not to dwell too long. You've all been sitting for a bit already, so I'll kind of power through. Luckily, we managed to find the comments that I wrote. Otherwise, I did this a few weeks ago, and I've been making shit up. So, well, hang on. I've got my new goggles. Hang on. Here we go. Right, so we'll start through image by image and just have a bit of a brief talk. Now, before I start commenting on any particular image, it's probably important to talk generally, and that way I think it's probably quite fair to all, because my comments aren't necessarily aimed at any one image. The category of photojournalism is a really tough one, because we can't rely on those fancy tricks on computer, in that we can't sort of get the old Photoshop working on our favour and getting rid of some of those wee extra things we'd like to. It does rely on a lot of in-camera skills, which for the purists out there is magic, because that's a big part of what we should be doing as photographers, regardless of genre. So I think this is a really good category to cut your teeth, to get right, even for some of the more creative computer-based options that you've got as well. I'd say, as a general rule, for photojournalism, you need to get in close. You need to get in there and feel it. You need to be a lot closer than what you think, feel the frame, because it's a little bit too easy sometimes to pull back and to not engage, not get involved, and because sometimes it's really tough to do that, given the circumstances of what may be unfolding or what you're seeing, or be it action or the fact that it might be something a bit more sensitive or whatever. But I think some of the general feedback for that may apply across a number of images. So we'll start off with what we've got here. I think this is perhaps one of those shots, thank you, So you controlling the screen for me? I'm just doing, it's just my screen that I'm doing the arrows. Oh, I'm with you. Okay. Shot here, I think this is probably one of those ones where I think the photographer probably should have got a little bit closer. Bit tricky, mind you, because you might have had your old water wings on. You might have to try going across the bridge to work out the purpose and the action to really kind of figure out what it is you're trying to convey in an image in terms of the central activity. Now, clearly there's workers there, there's some form of pumping and flooding, but we're not really seeing that quite to the degree that would otherwise expect to. So go and explore. I've made notes here. I've got a fast-moving, highly dynamic subject that is really hard to try and contain. So it's a really tough one with the rodeo, with horses and the likes there. Unfortunately, a little bit here, because we're shooting on the shadow side, we do get a lot of blending of the darker tones and the shadows, and particularly when the rider has got dark helmet and the likes there, it does make it a little bit quite tough to pick up some of the definition of the activity that is happening. So do try and work out the placement as best you can, because you can't figure out the movement where that's going to happen. You've got to take a bit of potluck. But knowing where the sun is and positioning yourself is probably a really key skill in trying to understanding the contrast component of your exposures. I've made a note here that we've got a powerful shot that has a lot of potential, given that clearly the author of this is shooting over a bit of distance, given the fact that this boat is going out through the breakwater into sea. But when I looked up a bit closely, sadly, it's lacking in sharpness. So I don't know whether you've pushed the limits of your lens or if it is a focus, but I think you're on the right track. But maybe just try with some of your technical, just a little bit sharper with your focus, or just tweaking your shutter speed a little bit quicker. A little bit similar with this one here. I've said we've got quite a sort of a moving opportunity here. I'm reading this as Anzac Day, where you've got an older gentleman. I wouldn't say a veteran so much without medals, but someone who's in the spirit of the day. I would like to see a little bit more of the face to read that, with the head dipped and from the angle. See if you can explore from a little bit lower to bring out that connection between the lady helping. I'm not too sure of the relationship here, and I guess it's sometimes very easy to make assumptions. But to have them a little bit more at the time in which they're coming together and aligning. So part of this category is also being able to shoot and explore your subjects and giving yourself quite a bit of opportunity to not just go for one frame, but to see things as they evolve and take that series. And I think by watching and observing and seeing the movement and the flow, you can pick up this interaction between the two of them as they're doing more about this observation that we're seeing as part of this ceremony. Which we've got to a degree here as well when you're reading the a bit more of the face looking down, and you've got a sense of the medals and the observance and stuff there. I did make a note there when I was judging that it's very rich with the colours, which is great. It makes it very punchy with the poppy and the hat and the likes. However, we do have some distracting elements such as that chair and the bags and stuff, that a little bit of positioning by going a little bit lower and changing your angle may try and preserve more of the interaction between our subjects and the wreath laying. And I made a note there, I think the sharpness was perhaps out a little bit too, sadly. I think we've got a beautiful moment here of a family that engage in activity and in a sense of togetherness and routine, which I think is something that we've probably seen with our own families and grandkids, and it's a moment to be cherished. So well done for picking on from the ordinary, because sometimes it's the ordinary that has the most value in a few years to come when the kids have grown up, and we look back and those are the memories that we choose to cherish. I do think, however, seeing a little bit more of the mum, who is actually quite lost in this, by shooting around with the angle a little bit more over top of the book and seeing a bit more of the engagement of what they're looking at and with each of the faces would assist that greatly. Right, again, it's another beautiful moment here, and I just love the fact you've got these, again, I'm making assumptions if it's grandparents, parents, but the adults that are looking on to these young kiddies, and that little fella with the glasses down there is just delightful. So I think it's great being able to pick up those moments, which again we know in sort of kids' activities fairly fast moving. So a lot of those sort of basics are there in terms of looking for the moments and the opportunities. A little bit tricky though that when you've got the lady at the right looking out, I wonder if a crop bringing this in to the faces coming into this part rather than finding we're being dragged out to the side. And I'm thinking the file handling has perhaps got a little bit too rich in contrast. Maybe just bring back your highlights a wee bit. And I saw this one here and I thought, wow, this is a bit of a sense of a drama, the old boat leaving harbour and a bit of a storm and whatever. But then I realised afterwards the picture's on a bit of a lean, so I was a little bit tricked that we've got the lean that's causing a bit more of the drama, and that when I kind of reorientated my head a wee bit, I thought, oh, yeah, it's just the boat steaming out of harbour. So, look, you nearly got me. I love it. I love the fact that on shooting sort of back with the froth of the ocean and stuff, it's very easy to lose some of the details in your whites. So I think it's a tough subject to expose correctly. So well done for getting those technical things all lined up. Now I'm just reading my notes here. I've put a clever portrayal of the ordinary and getting out there as a street photographer, because this I think is probably the toughest genre to kind of do in photojournalism, is getting out there, working from the hip, unseen, amongst people, up close, and getting stuff that is visually strong and bold. So I think it's really brave. So to the photographer, should they be in the room tonight, look, great effort for giving it a go. I think you've got some quite quirky elements going on between the birds and the sort of the people playing the background and the sort of the scarf and the dog there. So there's quite a bit of intrigue going on here, and I think sometimes there's photos within photos, and playing around with a bit of a crop with some of the elements. Only you know what you want to achieve here, but I think there's probably sort of answers within answers. So don't be scared of playing around. And I'm thinking particularly here how we're losing the foot on the wheel. Maybe we bring up a bit higher, or whether we should have kept a little bit more in. So you know what you've got there, but this is one of those times where go and explore, go and play around, give yourself lots of frames to see what you can come up for each opportunity. Look, I think this is a bit of a tough one. That I think the opportunity of showing the waka coming through, I'm guessing it could be a Waitangi type celebration, or it could be sort of like a waka ama type situation, I think is great. You get the sense here of showing unity and purpose and belonging and stuff. I'm not sure I'm with you with the guy in the front, which I'm not too sure how to read his emotion in terms of what this says about the occasion, whether he's sort of a bit upset, whether he's a bit bored, whether he's a bit nonchalant about it all. But it's tough because you're there trying to get a shot and he's looking at you and, he's looking and that kind of stuff. But again, if you could give yourself the opportunity of exploring as they're padding and they're digging in and showing a bit more of that muscle, he might then sort of start giving orders to the rest of the team. Do feel free to keep exploring these moments to see what other gems we have either side. This is another really tough one, isn't it? When you've got people who, I'm reading this as perhaps a street person, someone that could be homeless. And again, I'm very careful here not to make assumptions, because sometimes as judges, we think we know what's going on, it's completely not. But that's how I'm reading it. You don't necessarily want to get in their face for fear of perhaps being told where you could stick it or otherwise causing confrontation. Yet equally, part of what our job is as photographers in this situation is to record that and to show that. So it's a brave move between 2 steps to the right and getting a bottle in your face or sticking back where it's safe and trying to get the shot off when they're not looking. So only you know what your limit is and what you're prepared to get away with. I'd like you to go one more step, maybe meet in the middle. Would that be right? I've put this one here, displays peak action, strong composition, solid sports capture that shows attention to framing, shutter and direction of movement. So I think you've done those things really well. Certainly from what I judge on screen, it was perhaps let down a little bit in your exposure control and your density, printed slightly underexposed, and the highlights should have been a little bit brighter. So you're nearly there with that one. So good job for getting all the good things right. Well done. Now this one here I thought was way cool, where it looks like it could be Hagley Park with some form of protest by nurses or doctors or the likes there. They're dressed up in their gear, surrounded by favourites, and they've got the placards and bits and pieces. But I have to say, there are more people here oohing and ahhing over a baby in the background, not the primary purpose of what you're trying to show. Now, you may not have seen that, you might have been totally aware of it. So again, it comes down to your message, what it is you're shooting. Is it about the power of protest, or is it about a cute baby? And it's really tough, but it comes down to positioning and your angle and what you're including in the frame, what you're choosing to exclude, your depth of field. I think it's, how I read it, is the power of this lady with her mouth open, you know, chanting. That's the power of this shot, and that should really be a bit more of the focus of attention. Right, I made a comment here, graphically strong, given the high contrast and bold silhouette. However, the bright lower left is perhaps dragging us away into the empty sand, and a little bit of a crop here could actually keep us in this upper half and to retain a lot of the power of those graphic elements with the high contrast. I made a note here as a quirky travel shot. But other than sort of a cutesy shot when we're seeing travelling, I'm not too sure where my eye should sit on this. Is it the cat? Is it the signs? Is it the motorbike? Is it cat-flavoured pizza? I mean, so did you get a free can of Coke with a cat? Oh, yeah. So look, it's a travel picture that we take when we see these things because it's quirky. Good job in that sense. At least you know the cat's halal. So you might not be used to my humour. I'm actually being tame. I've got to live with this head. Okay, well, a good idea here. I'm not 100% sure of what I'm reading. And again, it comes back to the purpose of our shot, what it is we're taking. Are these people that are fishing? Are they releasing fish? Are they taking eels out? Are they putting something in? Are they cleaning up rubbish? I think I know, but I'm not really 100% sure. And the one clue is perhaps a little bit what I think is an eel down the bottom here. So just give yourself a little bit more opportunity to make that a little bit more obvious so we can read the shot with clarity. And it might just be that as they're bringing the net down, you see the first fish or eels coming out. And I think the idea behind this is that you're on the right track. Unless you're on a bridge or a boat, you've got a great position out in the water, which is unique. I think that makes it interesting. So good job for trying hard to get that sort of the angle correct, or at least appealing. Now this one I spent quite a bit of time looking at actually, and I was quite intrigued, and I was sort of coming and going as to what I was making of it and what I thought. And I'm still looking at it, and I'm still trying to not make up my mind, but I'm trying to sort of figure out, I couldn't figure out if this was a ceremonial activity, if he was somehow piercing or cutting, or if it was a dance, or in some places there's almost ceremonial mutilation, or they're piercing or their cheeks, or I wasn't sure if that's what I was saying, if it was a dance. But again, I love the fact you've got these two folk at the back that are so intrigued, they're kind of drawn into it, but they're almost a bit repulsed by what's going on. And I think that's the power of the shot there. Maybe lifting up a little bit to see that intrigue coming in would have been quite exceptional. And I was a little bit distracted by the smoking trousers on the left, which I couldn't really figure out. I was trying to work out, where's that coming from? But clearly it's on his arm, and it's part of what's going on with its smoke or talcum, or, yeah. But isn't it nice to have the awe of wonder and trying to figure it all out? Right, now this is another one that I thought, this is awesome. That fast moving, and it's these guys and girls are screaming past you on their bikes on the Pelotron. They're not hanging around. So I think from a technical point of view, you've managed to grab the motion and shutter speed control and stuff really, really well. I would urge the photographer to think a little bit more about impending direction as opposed to completed direction. And by that I'm meaning as they're coming to you, the motion is right there beside you, as opposed to shooting a little bit, as we said, to the left, looking as they're coming towards you, seeing it unfold as opposed to happened. So thinking a little bit more about the timing, the direction. That would also have the advantage of dropping out the lady waving the big flag at the back, which I keep finding that the parked car and the lady is dragging me off, as opposed to the intensity of these riders and the concentration that they're having with their task. So again, I'm saying this to try and sort of give you some guidance as opposed to being negative. Like most of the things with the critique, I sort of hopefully by giving you aspects to look at, that's how you improve your work. So I do hope the kind of feedback I'm giving you is sort of designed to be kind, and that will grow your work rather than feel that I'm being knocking, which is not the intent at all. I think note here we've got a pretty quintessential Kiwi landscape of the working dogs and the bloke in the environment. On the horse, it could be a hunter or a musterer on a rural farm. I think it's a perfectly fine rural shot. I made up my notes here, and it shows a sense of place. However, somewhat constrained by the tight frame when you know that this person is probably going to be out on the hills with the sheep and the dogs and stuff. It just feels a little bit compact, particularly on the left. I think getting in close so those subjects were close to you in the frame, but using a wider lens to show more of the landscape would really assist the grandeur that you're trying to capture with a shot like this. And I think in this case you probably could get up close. The dogs and the fellas obviously close, is comfortable enough with having someone taking their pictures. I want to know what's going on in that back seat. If that's someone's holding the flag, if that's mum waving and laughing and carrying on. I think that's actually quite cool when you see these cars all decked out in pride of place and all shiny going through as part of some form of car rally or collectors club or beach hop or the likes. I think the sharpness and overall lighting was well controlled, and I made a note there though that the crop does feel a little bit tight, particularly top and bottom. I made a note here to myself, love the sense of surprise and timing of the moment, though 6 people are effectively obscured, which kind of competes for the dramatic attention, which really is coming down to the one person that's giving us that sense of surprise. So, of course, we can't anticipate who's going to bring out all the moves when we're sitting there looking at these sort of things unfold in front of us. But sadly, with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 faces lost, it relies on one small element to kind of give us that there. But to be fair, I think the anticipation that something might be happening with your shutter speed as high as it is, framing the froth and the spray, is fully to your credit. thinking that something was going on and managed to get that captured. Now, this is way cool. I thought with, you've got smoke, like some form of theatrical backdrop. You've got these ducks all flapping, and I don't know what you call a duck handler. Have they got a special name? A wrangler? Duck wrangler doing their thing. It could be a place like, I don't know, Philippines, Vietnam, China. So I think the opportunity of seeing that with the smoke and stuff just adds a little bit more drama and stuff to the shot. It is, however, been somewhat under-processed. I think you could lift up some of those highlights in the ducks and the person a little bit more with a bit of dodging potentially. And I think maybe the smoke could go a little bit brighter just to help understand and read the central human figure. Again, it's if a waka armour or dragon boat, some form of on the water. Looks like say a women's team. I don't think I can pick any blokes there. And look, I love the fact you've got two of these women, particularly you've got the gritted teeth in the sense of activity and the power and the grit and determination. So I think in terms of what you're saying for this category of photojournalism, I think this is the sort of thing that you're attempting to capture that shows the essence of activity as much as the activity itself. And I think full credit for your timing and use of long lens out in the water to do that. I do think the lady in the back could be giving birth, though, to be fair. No, I'm kidding. Oh, I'll tell you, this is nothing. I've been good. You should come on our trips with us and watch our movies. I tell you what. Now, this is a shot here. I think we've got an arborist working, doing their thing. And I think you've got surprisingly high angle shot of someone up in a tree. So, you know, it's not my place to guess, but if you're in a two-storied house or you're up a ladder yourself, you've kind of gone up there to explore, which is full credit. Now, you might say to me, you're on the ground with a long lens. Well, so be it. It looks like you're up there. But you're showing us from their perspective, which is brilliant. I made a comment in the notes there that adding a bit of a lens, a vignette on this, even if it's just a slight burn around the edges, just to take out some of the highlights, particularly in the corners and the bottom, just to keep our attention in on the central activity, might just help this. Now, this looks like it could be at a Holly Fest or a colour run, where people sit there and chuck colour at each other and have a great laugh. And if you guys haven't organised a trip to that already, when they have it in March each year, they have one in Hagley Park, do cover your camera. You do have to make sure it's in a plastic bag or some form of covering, but I tell you what, you're going to get some gold. It's absolute magic when people start carrying on with all this stuff here. So if Paul hasn't put that as part of your trip, you definitely need to go and do it. And there's several ones they have around town. They have Rolleston and Ashburton and all sorts of Rangiora. But I did make a note here, though, that I think the sense of fun is certainly captured in the face. You've got this full-on colour, but again, the central purpose of what they're doing is lost by not having what I'm guessing is a phone or camera. I can assume it, but I think having that stated to us might just help that by going back a little bit further, zooming in, showing the camera in the selfie pose. Playing around with your crop may just assist a little bit more in this instance. Easy to read and shows the activity clearly. And I made a note, this sort of thing for this category for photojournalism could easily be in a regional newspaper. You know, let's say this was the Hokitika Wild Food Festival. You've got someone that's a bit more on the edge there. They've got their piercings, eating a spider or a weta or whatever it happens to be. Look, I think in terms of the purpose of this category, you know, good job. It's certainly the sort of thing that is captured with ease. How are we going for time? Speed it up, go slower, faster? I'll go faster. You're not here to listen to me all night, Jesus. I put this one. This is a really tough one, and I really think full credit to the photographer for giving this a go, because I don't know if I'd be brave enough heading on down to Aranui for what could clearly be a hikoi or some form of protest or march. If that's not part of what you're comfortable with in your culture, you're going to feel a bit awkward here. And looking around the room, that could well be something that many of us would feel if we were to go to do that, you know. So good job getting there, full stop. However, I would encourage you to get a little bit closer. And it's one of those times where if you come around the front, you've got the action coming towards you, as opposed to, I've just missed it as it's going, or just happening as we're going past. So be brave is what my message is here. You're onto something. Just next time, push yourself a little bit harder. You won't regret it. Overall activity well described, and I think the sense of camaraderie here in the motion is good. I think I might know the author on this one. I suggest playing a little bit more with contrast and just lifting a little bit more from the mid-tones and greys to push that a little bit further. And again, there's quite a grouping of activity around the left. So I'd like to see a little bit more strain and sort of impact on the faces as these soldiers are doing this activity as well. So if you kind of go for emotional punch, sort of look for that straining, that sort of the kick in the face, the sort of the oomph, if there's an opportunity there to explore that further. Here's another cracker shot, isn't it, with tug of war. And look at that fella, he's going hard out in the front there, isn't he? And you've got the brightest colour in front, you know, your colour placement, your sense of activity. The dads are all supping on there. I'd say it's beers. They have to be beers, wouldn't it? They're not on the bloody rara. They're all thinking it's great. The commentator's giving them a, egg along. I think, you got down low, which again, the essence of this category is sort of meeting eye on with the folk. You're looking into the activity, all those sort of things we kind of mentioned before. Brilliant, Again, as some of the other comments, you've got photos within photos here. You can almost cut this in half, and you've got a photo that's solely on the right half with the dads and this one fella. So do play around with some of the options. I'm not saying it's better. I'm just saying you've got options. So good on you for trying. I made a note here, we've got certainly a competent capture. I think it's certainly showing the essence of what is an alpine horse trek, but perhaps lacking a little bit of emotional engagement and impact. I think maybe because they've dressed up in wet weather and looks a wee bit grey, it looks a little bit sort of flat. Would hope to see a little bit more sort of excitement or expression potentially about people going out and doing an activity such as this. But the basics are all there, and again, the fact you've been out there giving it a go makes me wonder if you go out a bit further and show without the fences, out there in the wild doing the riding around the pass, if that was also an opportunity to grab as well. Now, I tell you what, I might go out in the hills sometimes, but I think my days with a pack on my back are limited. And here's this bloke walking up with sheets of iron and wood, and like, if this is Nepal or something like that, you think, that, full respect, this is incredible what these folk can do. And not just that, it's all basically the weight's on their neck, So in terms of documenting a slice of life and an activity and another culture, it's clean, it's effective, it reads well, it's a really good story, sense of place, so again, full credit. Another shot that I think is really indicative of a slice of Kiwi life. Most Sundays, the local fire brigade all around New Zealand will go out there and do their thing. Could be midweek, but most fire brigades will give it a training night or a Sunday and practice against the post. But the use of backlighting, your exposure control is all to be commended. I do worry a little bit that the left firefighter is either soft or there's a wee bit of movement. There's something going on there I couldn't quite read. So most of your stuff's looking really well, but just keep an eye on either your focus or could be depth of field. I couldn't quite tell, but it could actually be a little bit of camera shake. But I'm not reading it in other parts. I think this has got a lot going for it in terms of the type of work we'd expect to see in a photojournalistic category. You've got the sense of activity portrayed, you've got the human emotion, you've got every figure in that picture looking at what's going on. Your sense of timing, I think, is illustrating this with impeccable attention to detail. It doesn't matter if you had this on motor drive and you blitzed off 30 frames. That's the whole point. You can get something from that you know is working really, really well. So I think the freezing of the action with the ball so high in the air, the dirt that's been kicked up, I think really shows a really competent capture. Very, very well done. I said, actually, I may know here it may be a little bit tight, particularly on the left side, but you know, I think the good thing's way far away. That. Sorry, I did go backwards on you. Again, another really beautiful slice of life in rural New Zealand, and I think we've all been out and about driving and seeing things like this here. And I think there's a couple of things that really make this. You can actually really see the rain against the greenery. The fact that you've got virtually all the sheep facing away is quite unique in its own sort of sense. You haven't got those ones sort of bolting back. But you've also got that tree on the right. So I think it's a really simple shot, but not to be underestimated. Actually, just how beautiful it is in its simplicity. Again, this is another shot that I think for the photographer, you've kind of got the essence of what we'd hope to see in a category as a sports photographer, as a journalist, as someone that's been set out to tell someone about a school sports day. What's the essence of it? If you could wrap it up in a shot to give it to someone who's arrived from outer space to kind of describe to them, well, this is what it's like. Well, this is going a long way here. And it's very, very clever for a couple of reasons. And it may not be within the photographer's control, but I give you credit for still isolating it. You've got the blue team at the back losing, the red team at the front winning. Do you see that? So you've kind of got this subtle kind of blend of psychology and stuff going on as well, where the Leaston runner is being supported by the people yelling and screaming. So I think it's very clever. So well seen, well done. The fact you've got the sharpness control, you've got the placement, and again, all those people, there's no one sort of in the background that's sort of taken away by looking at their phone. They're all on task, and you managed to isolate and capture that. So brilliant. Another very competent shot that I said here that's very well done, and while it looks easy, we know that it ain't. With fast-moving ball sports, it's really tough to get moments like this. You think you've got it, and you look back after, oh, I've just missed it or whatever. You just have to shoot volumes. You've got to stick there, keep shooting, and to keep your eye on, quite literally, the ball. But then you get moments like this that really describe the action, sense of purpose, player positioning, a sense of emotion, speed, emotion, expressive. So, good job. I think that's very commendable. And if I just go back, I just want to point out too, the players are sharp, so your depth of field rendering the crowd is sort of a lot softer. I think your depth of field control is also needs to be commented on, that you've done that really well with your lens length. Good job. Sorry, that's twice I've done it to you now. Another shot I thought was quintessential reportage, newspaper style. This could be something straight out of North and South magazine, the press or whatever. This gentleman, I don't know who he is, I don't know where this is, but I'm reading this as a restaurant, assumably his restaurant. He's just dismayed at the sense that this fire has ravished his business, his work, his life's pride. There's a sense of, wonder, like he's isolated in the space, it's ruined around him. And you're in someone's space when they're obviously hurting and there's something going on. And again, it's not an easy thing to be part of, but you've stepped out of your comfort zone to be able to capture that. So giving you full credit, it's not an easy thing to do. So good job. I love the positioning here and the timing. We have got the lead bike grounded, the other two in mid-air like they're flying. You've got this sort of nice graphical sort of shape to what's going on. It's clean, it's easy to read, clear lines, shadows well controlled with visual impact. So full credit to the photographer. I think great job with action, just as we'd expect to showcase this genre. Now, I think this is a really powerful shot. I think not only is it an actual thing that's happened, a hand pulling out of mud, be it a mud run, or I don't think it's a rugby game. I think it's more likely to be a sort of one of those sort of muddy good run type thing. But it's really heavy, as you can see here, in the concept of helping someone out when they're stuck. It's about connection. It's about a feeling. So I think in terms of having emotional impact, I think it conveys a really strong story, and I give the photographer full credit for isolating that without showing faces. You know, how do you show emotion without the eyes, without the smile, without the face? And I think the sense of lighting and the tone, it's a really brave shot. I think it's perhaps let down a little bit with sharpness, but I'm prepared to ignore that for the really strong qualities that it does show. So really good job. This one, I've put an all-round dramatic capture that encompasses the quality of this genre. Sharpness, composition, sense of activity, freezing emotion all make for a magic image. Included with that is the depth of field control, the placement, and the fact that the blade's about to pop through. There's a sort of a sense of anticipation that something's going on. I don't know what the bloke's doing with that thing behind, if that's the blade cover, if he's sort of keeping an eye on things going astray, but you know that, say, at an A&P show or a sort of a soaring competition like this here, that this guy's going hell for leather with that machine just absolutely screaming. The crowd's all loving it. And so again, this would so be in the paper, magazine, representative of the type of shot that you'd expect to illustrate in this sort of activity. So a really top job photographically.
Thanks, Tony. That was great. Yeah, well done. And some really super comments there. Diana? Oh, you want to? I'll pass you back. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Oh. Tony, that was wonderful, thank you. I think we've all enjoyed your humour, and all of you.
I could do worse.
and your very, very wonderful critiquing. You said you were quite happy if people want to ask you questions.
Oh, yeah, if they want.
Yeah. Does anybody want to ask Tony a question?
Yep.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
here we go.
I'll give you that.
I'll get my car keys.
Get ready to run.
It was a bit tight on the left. Is that what you?
I did say that, yeah.
Yeah, there's a guy standing there, so I either had to have more than or not.
So there was a guy further left,
Yeah.
and was he not looking?
I can't remember now, but yeah, it just didn't fit.
Yep. And you know that because it's your image and you've seen it and you were there, and sometimes it doesn't fit. Yep, absolutely. Yep. And it's tough because if we also expand it and go a bit at the bottom, but at the top, then that sort of 5% image then gets bigger by 20% effectively, and there is more distraction. So, you know, by playing around, you'll find the best.
For me, it was the expression on the writer's face and having the photographer's whole face in there.
Yep, yep. And the fact the guy behind, he's peering over to have a look, and there's a sense of, oh, you can almost sort of feel the sort of, you just know there's a sort of there's pain here somewhere for someone, you know, and it's coming more from the other people behind, it's not from this person here, you know. Very cool.
And all the snot coming out of its nose and its mouth.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's very good. Cool. Any other questions? No, after that one. I'm not going to go one by one. There's one here? Oh no. You just scratch it.
Okay, this is an acceptance for Yuan, a village girl herding geese in the morning mist. These are out of order now, sorry.
Are they out of order?
Yeah, because I dropped it, sorry.
Come here and I'll find them.
Oh, no, here we are.
Team.
Okay, this is a...
With the mouth open at the
Yeah.
back. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's one that makes
Okay, this is John Thornton's and teamwork.
Well done. Good job, you.
Thank you very much.
No, you just have to... Okay. Okay, this is an acceptance. Jane Barnes, arborist at work.
Well done, you.
Only just above fence height.
Only just one?
Only just above fence height.
Oh, there you go.
And this is Garth Compton, and this is fun at the Indian Colour Fest.
Well done, you.
Well, I'll probably get fined, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. This is another acceptance. Anyone for cricket, and that's for Sue Coombs, but she's not here tonight. Okay. Acceptance, Hannah Rice, Waitangi Day, Hikoi.
Keep going. We're doing great stuff there. Well done.
Okay. There's no I in team, and that's Tony Hickland, acceptance. Determined to win, and that's me.
Oh, well done, you. Still shake your... Still shake your hand, don't we?
Thank
Well
you.
done. Or later.
Well, thank you. Okay. Oh, yes, the end of the trek, and that's Richard Cooper, but he's not here tonight.
Is that Alistair?
Oh, yes, yep, yeah, heading off to base camp, and that's for Alistair Phillips.
Well done, you. Thank you. Good to see you, teachers.
Now, these are other high acceptances. Practice makes perfect, Dennis Chang. Okay, high acceptance, hanging on to win, Alan Moore.
Thank you.
Got to get back. Yeah. Okay, high acceptance, whatever the weather, Janine Money. John Hawkins. These are the honours. Go, Jack, go.
Good job, you. Thank you.
I think they're in order. Okay. This is honours. Catch Me If You Can, Ian Harrison. Okay. Aftermath, Dennis New. Yeah, that's it. Christine the Hill, Les Arman. Hands, Lucy Ferguson. Oh. was here. She must have gone home. Is she here? No. Okay. And best in show, one relaxed Aussie, Anthony York. Oh, here. So, Tony, once again, thank you very much for coming along tonight. And normally we give you a gift, but but you're not good enough. So.
Normally I swear.
No, but because Francesca's had an accident, she normally looks after it. We'll send you something in the post. Thank you.
Okay. How are we going for time? Is everybody keen to go, or are we going to? It's too late. Okay. For the top images for people that are here, so we might have to flick back. Desmond, would you like to talk about your image for a second? Yeah. Okay. Hang on. Do you want a mic? Oh, thank you. Just hang on 2 seconds.
Just a quick one. This is taken back in Malaysia. Happened to pass by and then saw the burned down coffee shop. And good thing or bad thing, I saw a friend, and he's the friend. And I asked for permission just to go in and take some photos. So I just once I'm in, I just say just ignore me and do your thing. And then they have to pick up whatever like remaining items. Yeah, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, it's great. It shows the impact of the fire, and I think the despair in his face, like, what am I going to do now? Can we have the next flick? Ian, you're here. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, you've got the mic.
This was me at the in the end zone waiting for a winger to score a try, but they had this great big sign saying, please keep off the grass, so it ruined everything there. And so, yeah, as Tony said, I was just snapping at 30 frames a second, and unfortunately there was a good one of him pulling his foot out of the guy's arms, but someone behind him had his eyes closed, so it ruined that a bit. But,
yeah, great.
Yeah, just snap away and have a look at them afterwards.
Thank you for that. That sounds... I've never been to a rugby
it
match.
was crazy. It's the first game I've been to.
Oh, was
yeah,
it? Let's all go. Panic.
The boys' high cross one. What a mess.
Wonderful, wonderful.
No. Why pay your college, man?
Okay, Alan, who we find... There's a few honours. John Hawkins.
Yeah, everyone's grandson's amazing. Mine's just super amazing. Most of the boys there and Red are in his rugby team as well. He's very fast, like myself and John Thornton. It was just a good moment. His teammates really supported him, and he was having fun, and it was just a lucky capture, really.
That's great, thank you. Anybody? Are we still honours? Oh, Janine's not here, so I think that... Do you want to talk about your image? Would you like to? All right, you can, just for a couple of minutes. Okay.
Yeah, I took this at Winchester quite a while ago now, 2019. And I had to shoot it on JPEGs because I couldn't get an 8-second sequence into the buffer. So, yeah. But had to crop out the guy on the right on the left. That's why it's a bit sort of tight. But yeah. But I like that shot because that guy had... The guy riding the ball had 2 goes. He complained about his first one. Something didn't go right. I can't remember exactly what. So he got a second chance, and he won the competition. So pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like he's in pain, though. What do you think?
It's just insane.
Terrifying. Terrifying.
Yeah.
Ooh. Okay. Thank you. Right. Does anybody else want to speak, or no? All right, well, thank you for coming tonight. I've just got a couple of meeting notices to remind you. Next week, Jane as you're doing your talk, Jane, on light painting followed by a hands-on session. So you're sending any information out or? Just briefly, yeah.
On that note, we may need to use the car park next week. So if you don't have to use it, please don't. We need as much space as we're going to get. I'm thinking what we're going to do if it happens to be raining. Don't know. And it's going to be dim throughout the building. So if you arrive and it looks like all the lights are out, don't worry about it.
Okay, thanks, Jane. And just to remind everybody that the midwinter dinner is on the 23rd at Nom Nom. You're still taking names? Yes. So there's a phone number in Diana's newsletter that she sends out. So if you want to go, just send her a message or email. Okay. And if there's no more notices from anybody, I think we'll wind up. I just thank the boys on the IT over there, Andrew and Alan and Gordon down the back. I don't know who opened up tonight. Was it Dennis or Alan? Thank you. And Dennis for doing the tea, putting it all out. And sorry? Oh, Judy, my mistake. Sorry. I can't keep up. I keep changing the rosters. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. Drive safely and see you next week.